Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll show you how to perform enumerations and exploitation against a vulnerable service known as SMB, particularly SAMBA, running on a Linux operating system known as Metasploitable, which is an intentional vulnerable service, which is used for proof of concept, learning pen testing. So I will guide you to perform a good enumerations, which is the key of a successful exploitation. Before I continue this video, I disclaim this video is for educational purposes only. And if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Now, what is a SMB? SMB, known as Server Message Block, is a communication protocol created for providing shared access to files, printers across nodes and network. It runs on TCP port 445 and on top of the NetBIOS over TCP 139. This target machine runs 139 and 445. Okay. So depending on the SMB implementation and the operating system, we might get different information using Nmap. Okay. But keep in mind that we are targeting Linux operating system. To do that, we first need to have an IP target. And to identify the IP target on your local system, you might want to use a pre-built tool known as NetDiscover. So you will have to know your IP range. In my case, it's IP8 is under Internet 0. 192.168.1.47 is my local IP for Cali, but that 0/24 will be the IP range. So if I type sudo net discover lowercase r 192.168.1.0/24, yours might be different. Then if I press enter, it's going to try to scan all the different hosts in my local system. I'm not going to go through that because I have a bunch of them. Once you identify the IP address, in my case, is 192.168.1.188. This is the target IP that I'm up against. You can also use the nmap lowercase -sn to identify the host discovery if it's the host is app. It also gives you some extra name. In this case, I don't have a name of, let's say, it's Metasploitable or VirtualBox, but I know this is the one. All right. Next, I'm also going to use the service post read SQL start. This will start the SQL database for the Metasploit in order for me to build a workspace and targeting one particular IP address or multiple IP address in multiple workspace and save everything without repeating the same commands. To run Metasploit, you have to tap MSF console, and we also add the -$Q to remove the banner from the Metasploit. Just give it a few seconds. There we are inside. All right. So to build a workspace, you want to tap the workspace, and also the -H is going to give you some options what you can do with that. Type workspace -A, and I'm going to call this Metasploitable. With Metasploitable now on, if I type host, services, nothing is there, everything is empty. And I'm going to perform an nmap within Metasploit. To do, you type dp nmap, and then I'm going to prefer the SV. So I'm telling the nmap to perform versions of these services that are running on port 445 and 139, followed by a SC to run a script to verify. This is the automatic version of script that you can run. It's going to run all the different script automatically without actually specifying, the -- script equal whichever script you want to use. And also, and then now type the 192.168.1.188 target IP. I'm going to give it a few seconds. Now the SMB or the SAMBA can be configured without authentication. That term is known as null session or anonymous. For FTP, mostly is anonymous. For the SMB is null session. Okay, and here we have some good results. We have a lot of different IP open ports. The one that I'm actually interested is the 445. Down here we have the 445, we have the NetBIOS SAMBA 3.0.20. This is very interesting. Okay, clear up these checked services. So you have a lot of different vulnerable services. Some of them might be vulnerable, some not. But the one that we are interested in is the SMB, which is on port 445, the NetBIOS. Okay, let me run another DB Nmap. This time, I will only mention the port 445 and 139 by the actual 168.1 target IP address. Let's wait. We know that now these two IP addresses are open. You can also use the -p- to scan all the 65,535 open ports or protocol ports on the network. And by the result, we can see that we have an interesting message. The interesting message says that message signing is disabled, which is dangerous, but it's a default configurations. This is not good whatsoever. We don't want to see this because now what I can do, I can perform a null session. I'm going to use some couple of tools that they're already pre-built from Kali Linux. Those tools are very powerful. They're very useful for performing various different enumerations. So now that we have identified through the enumerations of Nmap that there is no need of authentication, we can now try to enumerate shares, username, groups, permission, policies, services, and so forth by using several different tools such as SMB client, SMB map, RPC client, or enum for Linux. I'll show you. Let's start with the SMB client. We're going to use the -L, capital L, and capital N. Now this, what that means is that we're telling the SMB client to list all the different share names without providing authentications. The capital N is a null session, and then // twice, and with the target IP address 192.168.1.188. Or maybe not. SMB client -N -L // Okay, so this is a very case sensitive syntax. So you want to put first the -N for null sessions, followed by -L, and then the target IP. The result will be that we will now have able to identify the share names, which is our 5, I believe, print, TMP, OPT, IPC, and admin. What we can do also to enumerate this further, we can identify the permissions of share names using a different tool. In this case, we can use the SMB map. The SMB map is another tool which helps to enumerate network shares and access associated with permissions. It is very advantageous in this case. So I'm going to use SMB map with a capital H. Let me clear up this first. SMB map, capital H for host, followed by the IP target. Press enter and let's give it a few seconds. And as you can see, it's giving us more permissions. Identify that print, for example, and the rest OPT, IPC, and admin, we do not have access, but we do have access to the TMP or temporal share names directory within a read and write. Okay, so now that we know that we can access the TMP and not the other ones as anonymous or null sessions, let's go back with the SMB client and then basically connect into that. How do we connect an SMB client? For null sessions, we type SMB client, and then we can follow up by saying the IP target 192.168.1.188, the share names that we identify, which is the TMP, capital U for username, but then we're going to use two double quotes null with a percentage, and again 2 double quotes to close this. This means null sessions, anonymous sessions. Let's get enter, and we were able to successfully connect. Now, if I type L, you can see we have different commands. This is similar to FTP, File Transfer Protocol. When we try to get FTP connections, we have the same commands. We can use the get to download specific files that could be interesting, or we can use the mget to download a directory that has various different files that can be very useful. Let's check the directory, and we see that we have two directory, which they're empty. There's a 0, so there is nothing in those two directory, and there is a file called 4905.jsvc app. This is a JavaScript file, but once again, it's 0 equals 0, so there's nothing here. So again, rabbit hole. There's nothing we can do here, so I'm gonna exit out. We can also use another powerful tool known enum, enum for Linux, which is a very, very powerful tool. And enum for Linux is another utility that support null sessions, which utilize NB lookup, NAT, RPCC client, and SMB client all together to basically to automate some common enumeration from SMB targets such as work group, user information, operating system, groups information, so forth. So I'm going to type enum for Linux, followed by the IP target 168.1.188, lowercase a. I also added this command line, which is a grep with a lowercase v, capital F, and unknown. Usually when you run enum for Linux, it goes, especially when you provide the -a. So I'll open up another one, enum for Linux -h. You can see the actual command. You can, if you type -U, it's going to get the user list, -m, machine list, and so forth. The lowercase a basically is going to do all the different enumerations for user list, to password policy, to group and member list, and so forth. Now, when you run enum for Linux, it will goes to some kind of like unknown syntax. Or it's going to tell you, it's almost like an error message telling you unknown, unknown, unknown. It is very annoying. So if you use this grep lowercase v, uppercase f, and then type inside of the single quote unknown, it will remove this as a part of the regex. And so you don't have to worry about the unknown anymore. Let's press enter. We're going to do these enumerations. We're going to let this go for a little bit. Is now try to find the SID, which is very useful. So we got the SID for the Metasploitable administrator, the user nobody, admins, user, guests. Let's scroll up. Okay, so you can see it's going to go through administrator, guest, Kerberos, ticket, domain admins, root, bean, and much more. We're using the lowercase a. If I scroll down, we also have an extra information about the OS version of the Linux 4.9 and the SAMBA 3.020 that we already discovered within Nmap. We also have a lot identified different account and usernames, such as games, nobody. And this is the recap of the user that being identified. Games, nobody, bind, proxy, syslog, user, root, and so forth. This can be very useful because we can now build a user list in order to perform a dictionary attack using whether modular Metasploit or using a powerful tool known as Hydra. If I scroll down again, it shows me all the different share names that we previously identified with SMB client and also the permissions that comes with each share names. By using SMB map, we were able also to identify that. You can see that the TMP is listing okay and writing NA, but with the SMB map, we were able to identify that we're able to do both. So this is important to use multiple different tools in order to gather as much more information as possible. Then it gives me a little bit of the information of the password policy. the duration of the password change, and so on and so forth, the complexity. This is very important, especially if I want to perform a brute force attack. And a whole bunch of the SID. Awesome. So this was another very powerful tool in order to gather as much more information as we could possibly do, especially when we have anonymous or a null session. The next tool is going to be that I want to show you is going to be the RPC client, which offers many different commands to executing specific functions on the SMB server to gather information or modify server attributes like username. It's very, very powerful. So you can type RPC client. We're going to use the capital -u with a single quote percentage single quote. This means this is the null session or anonymous sessions followed by the target IP. Press enter. You can see we successfully get into. I type help. We're going to have general options, different type of command line that we can use to perform more enumerations, to change even things in it. I don't think as anonymous we can do any changes. There's going to be an NT permissions denied. But what we can do, we can again enumerate usernames, for example. And to do so, we can type enum.users. And here we have again all the different users that are available in the SAMBA service, already been identified through the enum for Linux as well. So different options, different tools you can use. So what I can do now is that I see MSF admin and I see a root down here. So I can copy root and MSF admin just for the sake of this video. I'm going to make it short. And I'm going to create a user.txt and type root and also MSF admin. Now in real life, you're going to use all usernames that are possibly available. You're going to go through all of them, and doing a dictionary attacks or brute force attacks can take so much. It could be successful or unsuccessful, whichever is the case. But I'll show you how to do it. So let's say we want to do it with Metasploit. Okay, in Metasploit there is a module that is, if you type search and you type SMB login, this is the module that allows you to check for an SMB login, a successful SMB login. We can use this one, or we can use a powerful tool known as Hydra. Okay, Hydra is a very powerful tool that supports various different brute force and dictionary attacks against many different services such as SSH, FTP, SMB, WinRAM, and even HTTP authentications if you provide the right post command and so forth. Very, very powerful. And for the sake of this video, I'm gonna, I guess, show you indeed how to perform an Hydra rather than Metasploit. So I'm gonna type Hydra, and then I will use the uppercase L, okay, with the user.txt. This is the user.txt that I actually built just a moment ago under my directory home Kali Metasploitable 1. If I do an ls user, if I cat user, you can see root and MSF admin basically. So capital L, we tell to provide a different user list. And then we're going to type capital P to provide a different different password list. Now the password list is up to you. You can use RawQ, pre-built in Kali Linux. You can use Unix password from Metasploitable framework data under word list. There's various different password lists that you can find on Kali. And usually it's 50-50. If you have the right password list, then you'll be successful. So let's use, for the sake of this video, user share user share Metasploitable data word list, and then I'm going to use the Unix, or actually I will use the the Unix password.txt. Now with that, also we need to mention that we are actually doing this against the SMB. SMB, you can do it by typing SMB / twice, and then the IP target, in this case 192.168.1.188. And then I'm going to tell to speed up a little bit the scan with a threshold of 5. This should be good. And let's press enter. And this will allow Hydra to now try all the available pass-through lists against the 2-user root MSF admin. I don't know how long this is going to take, but I can go back now to Metasploit and show you how to do it in Metasploit. So I'm going to copy this module, enter. I'm going to type options. You can see we have different options. The one that I'm interested in is going to be our host to specify the target IP address. The remote port 445 is already 445, so we don't need to change anything on that one. And then specify the user file and the cluster file. Okay, so let's do it. Our host 192.168.1.188 set user file. And I'm going to use the user.txt with root and MSF admin that we successfully enumerated through the enum for Linux or RPC client. And then set the pass file. And again, I might change this time the actual password list. This time I might use the one that I have under home, Kali rockq.txt. And then if there is nothing else, I can also change the verbose from false or to true. If I let this true, it's going to show me all the attempts that's going to go through the scan. So I don't need to see it. So I can do set verbose to false. And then again, options. We have everything ready. And so let's run this module, and it's going to go through all the different possible options of pass release that we specify. Same things as now it's doing with Hydra. I don't think if this is going to be successful. So again, we can try, we can go back, we can backtrack our progress. And this is why I always say enumeration is essential to have a proper exploitations and successful exploitation. So let's backtrack for a moment. Let's pause the Hydra, and let's pause also the Metasploit auxiliary SMB login. Let's go back. Let's type services. And once again, I see the SAMBA version is 3.0.20. Let's see if there is any potential exploitation that we can do rather than performing brute force authentication that can take some eternity or it might not even work. Let's try to see if there is any vulnerability associated with arbitrary code and potential remote code executions. So I'm going to open up a browser, and this is still part of the enumeration. And I'm going to type google.com, my old friend Google, and type SAMBA 3.0.20 exploit. And let me zoom it for you. You can see the first option is SAMBA username map script command execution under rapid. We know that this is going to be a module from Metasploit. We also have exploit DB. You can use the exploit DB to do it manually and to save this into Python script or Bash script or whichever is the script, maybe make some changes. But let's go with the Rapid 7. And it's going to give us a little description. So this module exploited command exactly the same version that we identified using the non-default username and map script configuration options. By specifying a username containing shell meta characters, the attacker can execute arbitrary command. No authentication is needed to exploit this vulnerability. This is awesome. There is no authentication that we need to provide. This is definitely seems like a powerful malicious exploitation that can be successful. So let's copy the module, go back to Metasploit, paste the module, and type options. So what I'm interested about this is the localhost. You have to verify if the localhost is correct. In my case, this is my Kali Linux localhost, so I'm not going to make any changes. The output is fine. I don't care. the ROS is the only things that I need to use, and I'm not going to make changes to the R port. We'll leave it as default. Okay, so set our host 192.168.1.188, and now I'm going to type check. Let me check if this is vulnerable. This module does not support check. Okay, some modules support check prior to even perform the exploitation, but let's now perform the exploitation or the exploit. Sorry, I meant to say exploit. Okay, so now it's going to start to do a reverse TCP, building a script that perform arbitrary code, and successfully we obtain a command shell. This is a bash shell. I can do ID and successfully be already the elevated privilege of root. So we don't even have to do a privilege escalations at this point. We have successfully pawned the system. So I can, to remove the limited shell, I can also type bean bash lowercase I, and you can see we have now a full shell. And if I do ls home, I can check the usernames available under home. In this case, we have username FTP, MSF admin, service, and user. Also, let me see if I can check the as root. Definitely with the privilege that I have right now, I can read the shadow file. Now the shadow files contains all the hashes from every user on this system. The one that I'm particularly interested in definitely is going to be the root. Even though I have a backdoor and I know how to get access and perform remote code executions with elevated privilege, I still want to know the clear text of this password, or at least I want to show you how to crack actually a shadow file using John the Ripper, okay? So it's very commonly used for a lot of CTF, to get access to a shadow file and then try to crack the shadow file using John the Ripper. And I'll show you right now how to do it. Okay, so first things we need to do is I'm gonna copy this shadow file of the root. I'm only interested about the root, so I'm gonna call this one shadow.txt. Save it. Go back, and I'm now going to read the etc password. I need both. So I'm going to scroll up and going down to the root. And I'm going to save this on the pass the .txt and save it. Okay, awesome. I'm going to open another terminal. So what we need to do now, we need to use the shadow in order to um, to execute both the password and the shadow file. Okay, so unshadow is already pre-built, and now I type password.txt and shadow.txt, and I will name these unshadow.txt. In order to do that, this unshadow.txt now is readable for John the Reaper, and we can use it to perform a to crack the hash using John the Reaper. Now the command that we will use by John the Reaper is going to be John. You can also use hashcat if you want to, John or hashcat, whichever is your favorite tools. We can use the word list and then type, whichever word list for password. I'm going to use the rawq.txt followed by the name of the unshadow.txt, in this case, the root. I'll press enter. And as you can see, it's going to go through, if I press space, it's going to start to go through all different usernames, passwords within that root and the shadow of the root that we were successfully able to dump by exploitations. I'm not going to go through this. This might take long. This might not even work right now. So I'll stop. And just as a recap, we were able to perform a strong enumeration against the SAMBA service that was vulnerable to arbitrary code and remote code executions using a module metasploit. We were also able to use several different tools for SMB, already pre-built in Kali Linux. And the point of this video is to understand that enumeration is the key of a successful exploitation. I hope this video was informative and I'll see you on the next. Bye.